Welcome to House of Prozorov. House of Prozorov presents in Politica. House of Prozorov, June 6, 2026, D-Day. This is D-Day. We're going to come with it strong. I'm going to point out to you the ridiculousness of the fiscal conservative nuts that run this country and the scam they pulled on us during the Biden era and how the conservatives went up against Biden, and maybe Biden was even in on it, or at least he didn't know what was going on. I would be willing to give Joe Biden, our president, and his administration the benefit of the doubt. But as you know, when student loan bankruptcy or student loan forgiveness was being touted as just erase the debt, that news story got released everywhere. Think about it, okay? Think about it. Every news outlet is talking about student loan forgiveness and student loan bankruptcy. Okay, in that context, it drew out all the politicians, the fiscal conservative nuts. They came out of the woodwork saying, I paid my measly $4,000 in student loans off. Why can't you? Their logic fails all sorts of tests. It fails at all sorts of levels. What happened is they want their monthly payments from the students, okay? These are the bankers, those who will not take a loss. Everybody can take a loss. People in the military can take a loss. People in small business can take a loss. Doctors can take a loss. People in school can take a loss, but bankers can never take losses. The laziest people on earth are given the most rights, and you're backing them up they took advantage of your selfish impulses. You said to yourself, I paid my student loans. Why can't you? That makes no sense in the context of what bankruptcy is. That's like a small business that made it who tells another small business, you cannot go bankrupt. Mr. Small Business, you cannot fail. Even if you fail, you have to pay all your debt, every penny of it, because my business made it, your business didn't. That's an unfair advantage. We can't have any forms of bankruptcy. We have to get rid of all forms of bankruptcy. Student loan bankruptcy should be the easy one, not the hard one. It should be easy. Once it goes into court, an evaluation, an audit of the person's finances, and we can see if they need debt relief. And if they do, most of the debt or all of it is forgiven. It's not that hard. Let's think about what they did as a strategy against student loan forgiveness, against debt forgiveness. What did they do? They released that story in a way to all the media outlets that would inflame anybody that paid off their student loan debt. But it's the same thing with a business. There are businesses that make it and businesses that don't. Nobody starts a campaign to MSNBC, ABC, or whatever to say, well, my small business paid all its debts. Bank of America paid all of its debts. No, Bank of America, I think, went bankrupt. GM, General Motors, went bankrupt. Lots of companies go bankrupt. Six Flags Amusement Park went bankrupt. Nobody came on CNN, ABC, MSNBC, Fox News and said, my small business paid all its debts. How come Six Flags and General Motors gets out of paying their debts and they get to declare bankruptcy and get to start over? It's unfair. We've got to stop it. And then it got stopped. No, it didn't. GM was allowed to declare bankruptcy. Six Flags was allowed to declare bankruptcy. The little guy who had student loan debt, he's never been allowed to declare bankruptcy. That is against the intent of the Constitution. It's unconstitutional to tell somebody they can't go bankrupt on their debt because it implies that their pursuit of happiness can be in their pursuit of happiness and equality and all those things can be imposed on the equality, pursuit of happiness, all of them can be blocked because the bankers want their money. So the Constitution of the United States is not held up by not allowing people to declare bankruptcy. The Constitution would say you should but you should be able to declare bankruptcy on your student loan debt. It just makes sense. And nobody would tell some poor businessman who tried and worked his butt off, just like some student who studied rocket science at Berkeley, who I knew declared bankruptcy and couldn't get bankruptcy on his student loan debt, who worked his ass off but couldn't pay his debt off. His student loans were just a big hamper, a blotch on his life. He couldn't even get married because of it. He couldn't even have a good relationship because of it. Cancel the debt or allow bankruptcy, allow the courts to have a criteria to evaluate it. Don't ask the general public. The general public's filled with morons. They voted in that MAGA guy. How could you always trust the general public? The general public doesn't get to vote on if a small business gets to declare bankruptcy if the owner is in deep financial trouble. They're allowed to declare bankruptcy. Donald Trump declared bankruptcy numerous times. If Donald Trump can declare bankruptcy numerous times, you've got to let the student loans be forgiven, or they're allowed to declare bankruptcy on it. It's going to have to happen. And the idea that we can just continue this silliness, this absolute silliness, and blocking bankruptcies, this is why is this misleading and dangerous? Because you're pitting the poorest people who are the least able to continue on with this debt are being pushed to continue on with this debt because some silly lady or some guy, some snob who's living in his grandmother's house that she bought him, and he's driving his father's car, and he had a little bit of debt and he didn't even have to pay rent, was able to pay his student loan debt off, and therefore can go and contact CNN or make a comment on a list that actually moves the dial for the politicians who say, well, wait a second, this guy has a point. He paid all his student loans off, and he didn't get to declare bankruptcy, but this guy does. I mean, then we can do that for businesses. Then we can say, why did this small business get to declare bankruptcy, and this other guy paid all his bills on times, and his business is profitable? So that poor guy who had to declare bankruptcy on his business, he cannot do it. He's not allowed to do it, because the other business could do it, could pay their bills, and could become profitable. So if he's in debt, it's his freaking problem. He cannot declare bankruptcy on it because the other person paid their bills. This is such a simplistic article. It means nothing. A simplistic argument, a simplistic idea that you just reduce it down to that somebody paid it, somebody didn't. We have no idea of the life circumstances. Bankruptcy for student loans needs to go into court like any other financial problem and be evaluated through a criteria of how it's going to hamper somebody's life in pursuit of happiness. And if it so does hamper somebody's life in pursuit of happiness, somebody who's 60 years old with $300,000 in student loan debt should be made free. Let me repeat that. Somebody with $300,000 in student loan debt who's barely making $50,000 a year, they're 60 years old, they've tried to pay their debt off, or they haven't been able to try to pay their debt off because they only made $50,000 a year. They couldn't do that much. And the interest is just going up and up. You have to let go. You have to allow student loan bankruptcy. The idea behind it is only backed by big money. These people want guaranteed money. They're lazy motherfuckers. They sell around on yachts, and they don't want anybody declaring bankruptcy. The little guy gets screwed, and they keep making tons and tons and tons of money into infinity. Who cares that some young girl or some young man paid off his student loan debt? And then there's another person that didn't. That's not even an analogy we can work with. We have much more to consider. And that's what courts are for. That's if we can do that analogy, then we can simply say that small business that failed, who's going bankrupt, we can't allow them to declare bankruptcy because there's another business over here that did not fail and did not declare bankruptcy, and they're profitable. So this person trying to get bankruptcy for their business is a scam. See, we don't have that argument yet, but it's just as valid, if not more so. And I leave you. House of Prozorov presents in Politica, refusing to allow student loan bankruptcy, blocking bankruptcy, why it's misleading and dangerous. House of Prozorov. And I know the evil is against me in this speech because you don't want me to articulate the fucking that you're trying to hand to the public. The fucking that these people have been putting on us. Not Donald fucking Trump is the president of the United States and has declared bankruptcy multiple times. And you tell me the general public and the poor cannot declare bankruptcy on their debts because their student loans? Horse shit. End of story. And you want to use my cussing against me. But if you were in as much shit as some people have been put in, you would be speaking exactly as I am. Release the, you're going to take a loss. You're not going to get your money, and you can be evil all you want as you've done. It's going to fail for you, and you're not going to get out of it. My logic rips apart your logic. It's not that I'm illogical, emotional. It is you who is illogical, who thinks you get all the money, and you voted for a guy who declared bankruptcy multiple times. For God's sakes, you're a fuckhead. I'm out of here, and I'm pissed that this fucking title wasn't better. It should have been better. And I'm pissed that you have the power of the dark side on your back. This shit should have been allowed 10 years ago. People should have been allowed to declare bankruptcy. I'm out of here. House of Prozorov. It's going to take way more than me. One guy cannot fucking do it. I am not the guy to pull this off. It's going to be somebody else that gets into this mix and understands what I'm saying. And we're going to have to end this fucking shit where you cannot declare bankruptcy on student loans. This has got to end. This is misleading. It's dangerous. It's wrong. And it's unethical. It's unethical. God bless you if you can pay off your debt. But if you're a business owner, just as you would be a student, you should have options. This is House of Prozorov. I'm out of here, and I'm glad I cussed. It was deserved this time. I hate cussing, but it was deserved this time. Everything isn't logic. Everything is not logic, and you don't have financial logic. All you have is your position and what you think and your experience and the support of your family that you don't even put into the calculation when you just compare yourself to somebody else. You assume that they have it just like you or better, and that may not be the case, and you don't give a fuck that that's not the case. Even if you knew what I was saying, you don't give a fuck. You're just manipulating to get your way. Bankers take a loss. Bankers take a loss. Bankers take a loss. See ya. I'm out of here.